Hey everyone, Emil here with this pre-show for episode 100. I've just finished editing the episode and I know you're gonna like it. I'm just here to say that there's not gonna be a recap in this episode, and that's why it's a little bit shorter. It's also so I had time to edit this episode while recovering from COVID, because I've been quite sick, especially on Monday and Tuesday when I edited this episode. And also when this episode was recorded, I sounded a little bit sick in this episode, but the content in itself has not diminished because of that. I just want to thank you all once again for 100 episodes, for however long you've listened to our show. When we started in 2021, it's been an amazing journey. We've met so many friends, we've met so many awesome fans and people that listen to our show that we have never imagined. We've roughly hit listening goals that we've never thought we would be able to hit ever in our lifetime. We've built a community, global fan base even. It's been an awesome journey. Thank you for listening. Really, we say that every episode, but really, I mean it. Niels means it. This has been a project of passion since the beginning, and it's really emotional to get your 100th episode out there. So yeah, thank you. Just this as a heads up. This episode was shorter, no recap. Didn't feel right to put a recap into this. And we will see you all right. We're on break now. When this episode releases, there will be no episodes for the next 3 weeks. We've decided to take all of January off and be back the first week of February, on February 7th, I think that is. So yeah, episode 100 and 101 will be another great episode. There's gonna be not necessarily format changes to DoubleDM, but we've decided to venture down different approaches with the coming episode 101 and plus to see where this goes, to see how we can sustain DoubleDM as a project. We have actual plays and other stuff. We have new interviews. We have different panel ideas. I've had ideas for maybe audio documentaries and stuff like that. Really, there's a lot to come in the new year for DoubleDM. But first, please listen to episode 100. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And I hope you enjoy this episode. And I hope you enjoy the new year, because Happy New Year. This comes out on the 2nd of January. Happy New Year. I hope you had a great transition of year. Yeah, I hope to see you when we return in February. And now enjoy this episode.
So, Emil, it's been a year since we released episode 48 of DoubleDM, and it's been quite a journey, I think.
Been quite the year. Yeah.
It was a year. But what was your moment which stuck out the most? Was there anything right from the top of your head that just stood out to you?
Let me think. Yes, there are two moments, and they are quite related to each other. The first of them is us starting the recordings for Titan's Call, which started in January, the officials, and the ending of the Titan's Call recordings, which was in November.
Yeah, that was...
So those were the two moments this year that I think were pretty defining for me. If you want something that happened on air from me, I would probably say Why Your World Matters. Either the releasing of one or the recording of the last one. Both of them, one of them is up on the podcast feed already. The other one is coming soonish. It's the only episode that will actually release in our break, or probably right at the end of our break, or around the time when we release the anniversary episode for 2 years of WDM. So yeah.
Yeah, but Titan's Call, that was a journey. That was an amazing journey.
Titan's Call is still the defining thing for this year. It's just the biggest thing, period.
Yeah, and I can tell you that much. It was so much fun recording this with you guys. It was... It was an amazing campaign, or amazing season, and I will never ever forget this. This will always be a cherished memory. All of the recording sessions. I think everyone did an amazing job, especially you. You built an amazing world, an amazing story, and I can't wait for people to listen to it finally. But yeah, that was a big thing.
I know I say that it's coming out soon
often, and that's not necessarily what people believe. Trailer 2, when that releases, there is a trailer 2, or there is one coming. When that releases, I'm gonna try to put an actual date in the trailer for when it releases. Episode 1 is in editing already, and this is quite far in editing already. And when I finish episode 1, I have a rough estimate how much I need per episode, and then I can basically try to streamline that process a lot. And as soon as I have it streamlined and I know how long I take per episode, it's very easy to say when we are able to release Titan's Call, because I know when the editing's gonna be finished, and can then aim that every week one episode airs so that I can edit the last episode before it should air on a schedule. And that's kind of where we're aiming. I think I'm aiming first half of 2023 for episode 1. Definitely before my birthday in June, but I don't want to make any promises because, right, we promised that it's gonna come out in 2022. It didn't.
Yeah.
And this is because a lot of things happened in Titan's Call. First of all, none of us have ever done this before. Both of us, we recorded podcasts before. We knew how this works. But our two other players needed to learn how podcasting works. So we gave them time, and sometimes recording sessions were not that productive in quotation marks, because we had to teach them stuff that they can repeat sentences and all of that stuff. Really, we had to get that down for them first. And then also 3 different people from the 4-player cast moved in the time of Titan's Call. This year, a lot of people moved. I moved. And the 2 players we have, except from you, everyone moved in that project. And that obviously extended it. We had all of us had exam season. That extended it. Sickness, obviously, in a full year of recording sessions, someone will get sick at some point. Then we had to cancel. And we really had to, this is really why I think that Titan's Call is the right approach to how we want to do actual plays. But that approach takes a lot longer than I myself, as a consumer, might actually like. And now this is kind of a dichotomy, but Titan's Call, we said we're going to record every episode before we even think of releasing them. So we cannot stress ourselves out in recordings with, we have to get 2 episodes in. Even if you're sick, you will have to do it. No, it was, hey, we just record, and when we finished, that's when we think about releasing them. And that's kind of where we're at now. We finished recording, and now the question becomes releasing. I think this kind of sets a precedent for how we want to run our actual plays, plural, yes. I think people know that we've said this many times before. We want to do more. Titan's Call is not going to be the only one. There's going to be more. Different systems, different games, indie games, a lot of different stuff, because we want to just play and broadcast it. We are already nearly starting the second one, which is going to be your actual play, and you can decide how much you want to reveal in this episode for that. And I am also already planning my next one, my next actual play.
I can just say the whole process will start in January, and then it is not D&D. That's all I want to say right now. I'm working on a teaser picture for that, and it will be interesting. I think it will be a lot of fun, especially to play.
I think so too.
And I believe I have an amazing cast. I have amazing players, and what could go wrong, right? But I'm excited to see where all of this new stuff is going, and how much the things that I learned throughout the last year and throughout the last year of recording Titan's Call actually will help me with preparing for that and running that. Actually, I think it will definitely have helped to be a player in a actual play once, but I think to be a GM is a completely different story.
Yes, I can't speak because I also only did on the one side on a regular basis, at least. So I definitely get it. I think the thing is, what I have to say about actual plays from what I've learned so far, from talking to other actual play DMs and GMs, and also doing my own, actual plays are nothing like your home game. And you need to realize that. At least the actual plays that I want to do and the ones that I enjoy are very aware of their situation. They are a show, they are for entertainment. They are not just for the entertainment of the people playing. Because no one needs your home game as an actual play. No one. Except you. And if that's all you want, go for it. I won't stop you, but I also probably won't listen to it. But the actual plays that I enjoy are very aware that they are a show. Their episodes are often only 1 hour long or something like that, because they know that 4-hour episodes are nothing people will enjoy.
And I think I have a lot of learning still to do with the GM role that I then assume. But the good thing is I have one person on my player base that already has been a GM for an actual play. So I think we can learn from each other during that.
And I'm just going to say this, you're going to do great at this. You're going to learn this very quickly. I'm going to say this like it is. In my opinion, it's not hard to be an actual play GM. It's not hard. You just have to make the distinction, I am running a show.
Exactly.
And some people might not like that, because then it's not actual TTRPGs. And I get what you're saying, but it is.
Yeah.
There's still all of player agency. The dice still dictate story. I just have to be aware that pacing is way more important than in the home game. If you have dead time where your players don't do anything interesting in an actual play, that's bad, because no one wants to listen to it. There's a difference between downtime and dead time, in my opinion, because dead time is really nothing happens that is anyway conclusive to what you're doing.
Downtime can lead to character development and still story development itself.
Downtime is just a different form of pacing.
Exactly.
But dead time is no pacing, and that's the one you don't want in an actual play. In a home game, I like that. I like having moments where nothing actually happens. But in an actual play, I cannot do that. It's literally not possible. It just isn't fun.
Yeah, I think the system that I've chosen for that lends itself really well to that, at least from what I've read.
I think so too.
I've read the whole rule book, and I think it is very fast-paced in itself.
Yeah, I can see that.
You don't really have any dead time if your players don't really say just, okay, we do nothing. And even then, this leads to other things that further the story. So you don't really have any dead time for much longer than 5 or 10 minutes, maybe. And even that's not going to happen with you, because we played an actual play together for the past year, and we all get how pacing works, and we all know, and we all want to further the story itself.
Yeah.
We all want to experience this.
And the thing is, if dead time exists, that's not a bad thing, because you can always edit it out. The problem is if that dead time exists in the final episode that people are going to listen to.
Exactly.
Because podcasting, I'm going to say this as someone that has done podcasting for 2 years now, if people are starting to listen to your podcast and there is only one thing that they don't enjoy, that's a minor inconvenience to them, they can just stop and never touch your podcast again. Everyone has their limits and their thresholds at different points. And I know that we had people that tried to listen to our show and just didn't enjoy the format, the editing, and the things we talked about. And to all the podcasters out there that are listening that want to know what to do about that, is you don't do anything about it. Sure, change your editing, change your process, change your production, do what you enjoy, and you will find an audience that works with you. Because if you bend over for every listener you have, you're going to have a bad time. And you really need to figure out what is the best thing we can do to attract a big audience for us, because that's what you want, by still doing what we love. And the first step to that is ignoring those that get turned off by one of the core things about your podcast.
But there will always be some people that will enjoy, though, especially those certain things. And through the years or months or whatever of podcasting that you do, you will develop your own style as a podcast. And you will build an audience that really likes this style and comes back to your podcast because of that, and not because of some other minor things. They will stay because of your style, because they enjoy the way you do podcasts. And this is the audience that you really want, because then they are engaged with you. They like to listen to the new episodes. They like to ask questions, engage with you on social media or whatever the fuck, right? You just need to find your style and then hone in on it and change a few things here and there to see what works for you best, and then further your style in that regard.
Right? Find the character of your podcast or your show and keep to that character. And it's good about identifying that really early on. DoubleDM has always been a talk show by two friends just talking about one topic at a time in in-depth discussions. That's only gonna change when both of us say we don't want to do that anymore. We want to do something different. And if people are not really that interested in a podcast from two dudes that talk about in-depth TTRPG discussions, one topic at a time, they're not gonna enjoy DoubleDM. And there's no way I can convince them to enjoy DoubleDM. They might listen to an episode, but they're never gonna be a big fan of it because that's not the things they want. The best example I can give is if you're a D&D actual play and you're trying to convince someone that hates D&D podcasts to listen to your show, it's never gonna work. Don't spend your time on the people that will not enjoy your show or that don't enjoy your show. Sure, try to find a way to attract the most listeners, because I'm going to say this. You want the most listeners possible, but obviously don't obsess over it as well. But think about it. How can I attract the most listeners? But really don't give it too much thought. If you, for example, see in your analytics that there's a certain spike of 3 new people listening to new episodes, new devices are listening or something like that, and then they just stop again. Then your device count goes down again. Don't sweat it. Those people tried. They didn't enjoy. You can analyze why they didn't enjoy it. But most of the time, these people are just going to be, okay, I tried to listen to 3 episodes of this podcast. Yeah, not my style. And now the question becomes, do you want to change to get that listener and risk losing one of your already invested followers? Or do you just want to keep going and hope that at some point one of those 3 people, if they come again, just stays? And the podcasting advice is really do what you love, because you're going to have the most fun with it, and that's going to attract the most listeners to it. But also think about how to attract the most listeners. I know that's ambiguous, I know, but try.
But I think being genuine with the person that you are is the perfect way to attract the most listeners for the podcast that you want to do in general, as a general rule of thumb. Because if you change yourself and not be the one that you really are, it is felt by every listener. And if you're really a genuine person that just says their mind on the topics that you want to discuss, or whatever type of podcast you have, if you really show the people that you are the person that is talking right now and not just a synonym for the internet, it really is a great way to attract the most people that are interested in the topic of your podcast.
Yeah, 100%. If you do podcasting is a very long game. We've been at it for 2 years and we're still learning every day about how to do it better. And you really have to think about, when you want to start a podcast, that you're going to have a long-time investment. A podcast is not going to be something where you release 3 episodes and are suddenly at the top of Spotify's playlists. Not going to happen unless you're Markiplier. But that's only because he has a platform. Most of the time you don't. This is you building your platform. And if you're not doing something that you're genuine with, that you love, that you want to do, you're never going to surpass the podcasters that do it consistently because they are genuine. Consistency is important. And you only get that consistency if you do it genuine and do what you love. If you don't like your podcast and just power through it, you're gonna burn out. It's never going to be the best product it could be. And yeah, you're just going to hate yourself for it. Just do what you think you would love to enjoy. I think really the best advice for podcasting is that I learned is you need to be a fucking fan of your own stuff. You need to be able to listen to your own podcast episodes, every single one of them. And I do that. I listen to our own podcast once a week, every episode, because first of all, the advice we give is good, period. Second of all, I need to always evaluate how good the editing was done, and that's how I do it. And third of all, I need to evaluate how the actual content was done, and that's how I do it. If I ever say, oh, I don't like that episode, that's bad. It happened a few times before. I was like, I didn't like that part, I didn't like that. And I try to eliminate those parts at every given moment. But it's really important that you're at least somewhat a fan of your content. You don't have to listen to your podcast every week. If you have voice dysphoria, you don't have to listen to your podcast. You don't have to listen to your voice. But you at least need to be a fan of what you're doing. Yeah. Think that your content is actually good. Be convinced that you're actually doing something good.
Like you just said, find a thing that you don't enjoy for a specific episode, for example. That doesn't mean that you don't like the show that you produce. It just means that you don't like this specific small part of that show. For example, if there was an editing error in quotation marks, or a decision you made with editing that you then changed because you don't like it. This has nothing to do with not liking your show or the product that you produce. It's just be a fan of your product itself.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, we don't have any merch, but I printed our logo on a cup. And I can tell you, every time I drink my morning coffee from this cup, I enjoy it even more than drinking out of any other cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, Love it.
You made the logo and you should be a fan of that logo. It's a good logo.
Yeah.
And it's also just a thing that people, if you're ever creating content, and like the thing is, when people have asked me in the past, how do I get more listeners? How do I reach the fame you have? First of all, I think you're actually very much overestimating what DoubleDM is actually pulling in listening statistics. I'm going to be very honest. We're actually a very small podcast for what most people don't believe. Let's say that. But that's okay, because the people that listen to our show are people that I very much enjoy listening to our show. We run polls on Spotify where we had some fun answers. People have messaged us on Twitter, Instagram, in DMs about this, about our show. I love reading those, and that's really the fun of it. My best advice for podcasters out there, when I ever get asked, how do I get more listeners? How do I reach the fame you have? Well, look at your content. Would you listen to it? And if you say no, evaluate why. Because you need to be a fan of your content. You need to understand the audience you're actually speaking to. I listen to more than just one talk show podcast about TTRPGs. I listen to Dragon Talk. I listen to How Not to DM. I listen to Thinking Critically. Why? First of all, because I enjoy the people doing these shows. Second of all, because it's content made from my peers.
Yeah.
And now that way I can learn what they are doing and take that for my show. How Not to DM is an interview podcast. And every time we have a guest, I try to incorporate more of what Derek over there is doing with his interview style. Because I like the style he does. I like the way he asks questions. I like how he researches his questions. Learning from Derek has made me a better podcaster. And that's really the thing. You need to be a fan of content yourself to actually be the best content producer yourself. Obviously, you might not have time to consume everything, but you need to understand what other shows in your vicinity are doing. I listen to a lot of actual plays. Why? First of all, I enjoy them, but I also understand what I do enjoy in actual plays. I do enjoy actual plays that are kind of edited well, that have a good voice cast, that have a good charismatic cast playing. And I evaluate that and say, okay, that's where I want to be. That's also, I enjoy that content, and if I enjoy it, more people will also probably enjoy it. So when I do it the same with my twist on it, I can expect that also other people are going to listen to it and find it entertaining, because I know I find it entertaining. And if I find it entertaining, there's a great chance that other people will find it entertaining as well.
Yeah. Like you just said, the content that we create, I am a really, really big fan of it, because I think the tips or the content that we create is really great and really great advice for anyone starting to GM or even being a veteran GM, because having two other people just putting their own twist on different things, different topics that you may have not looked at the same or not looked at the same way as we have, just makes you think and then create your own twist based around that and create your own thing from that, because we are not here to tell you what exactly to do. We're just here telling you what our experiences have been and what we would do in these situations. From that, you should form your own idea, you should form your own approach regarding these topics. And I think we're just here to make you think. And especially this has happened to me during recording all of these episodes in the last year now, is that every advice that we gave was more of a, that's how we would do it, not how you should do it. And that really made me think about the way I approach different topics.
Yeah.
Just like it is the goal of, or the goal for me of this show is to make people think about their approach on different topics regarding TTRPGs. And all of the episodes that we recorded in this past year made me think how I approach different topics that we discussed, and then change it to the way that I now, with my knowledge now, would think would fit the best in this situation. And that's why I'm a big fan of our product. I'm a big fan of our advice and the way we do this, because it just makes you think and makes you form your own opinion on certain topics, not just telling you this is the way to do it and no other way is valid, because every way is valid as long as it's yours.
Yeah, I think that's really right. DoubleDM is not made so we can tell you what you should do. It's us discussing topics so you can learn and think critically from that discussion.
Yeah.
We're not here to teach you how to be the best game master. Oh, well, we are, but not in a you should do this. This is the best way.
It's not in a lecture type of way. It's more of a, we're here to discuss the things and then you be your own best GM with the knowledge that you have and thinking critically about the stuff that we talk about and then formulating your own variation of it.
The skill we are teaching is is learning how to evaluate certain problems from a GM's perspective. That sounds very metaphysical, and it is. It also sounds very much like nothing, but it's a lot. But really, it's in these 2 years, what changed the most about me GMing is, hey, I think about every step in a different way, because I've learned basically that for everything I do, taking a step back and looking at the situation and asking myself, what options do I have here? And then laying the options out in front of me and thinking about, why did I choose these options? Which of these am I going to take? Is there another one that I didn't think of so far? That's really where my DMing changed, I think.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm getting better at improv or better at pacing, which I am both, but this is not because of the show. The show itself taught me how to be better at thinking about the stuff critically, and that thinking critically is where it's at. That's when I do that. That's where I learn the other skills that are never cookie cutter clear, that you cannot learn from a tip video on YouTube or a podcast like this one. But you can learn two people explaining their approaches or their ideas, and you going, I have a different idea. Why do I have that different idea? Why do I want to do that? What will me doing this thing actually entail? I don't like where this is going with my idea, so maybe I should take a different idea. That skill, that's the valuable lesson of this podcast show.
Exactly. And what this podcast also helped me learn is to thinking critically, but without overthinking every small step within it. Because when you start to think critically about the whole situation, you don't focus on every minor detail, but rather think about the whole picture and how it fits together. And then you don't sweat every little minor detail that you might before have thought about and try to change every little thing to perfectly fit the thing that you wanted to do, but with forgetting that there's another side to the story, the player side. But what this podcast has taught me is to think about what could I do, or what are my options, then react the way that makes the most sense in world-wise regarding the decisions my players made. Just think about stuff without overthinking the stuff is a skill that I think I am still learning or perfecting, you could say, but have started to learn this during recording this podcast.
I'm going to ask you something that's very antithetical to what we just discussed. From these hard-boiled skills a GM has, which is the one that you improved the most in 2 years since doing this podcast?
I think actually improvisation. Because not thinking too narrow-mindedly about different details and being able to let loose a couple of things that didn't fit my imagination at first. Really getting into that mindset really helped me improve my improvisation. For example, a couple of years ago, I said there wasn't any bench in that situation right there, but my players wanted to use a bench. Then nowadays it's just, fuck it. Now there's a bench. Go ahead. If there is a reason why there isn't a bench, okay, because my players picked up the bench and just moved it out, then there can't be a bench in there anymore. But if it wasn't any topic beforehand, why the fuck not, right? Just making or taking the blows that my players give me and creating the most entertaining situation out of them without disregarding my players. And I think this is the skill that I most improved on during especially the last year. But let me throw that question back.
It's easy. Pacing, period. It's only because with this podcast, I learned to change my approach, to think outside the box. And that's the reason why I got better at pacing. Because I thought, why do I have to play out every single day of a travel? I don't. Why should I balance the important moments, either roleplay or combats, with my players going shopping? Sure, having shopping in the game is cool, but only if it's really valuable to the game playing. For example, when my players go shopping for standardized equipment, we don't play it out anymore. We have before. Nowadays, no. But if they go shopping for magic items, that's something I still will play out because I enjoy making those shops. And they have important NPCs in them that my players interact with. One of them is the girlfriend of one of the players or one of the player characters. Obviously, he wants to play that out, that interaction. But if he goes to buy a robe, I don't give a fuck to which store he goes to, who he talks to, or how much he spends. I don't want to talk about it. Just take the normal prices and be done with it. That's something I really only learned because I went like, wait, why am I doing this? And that question is not so easy to ask sometimes when you're a GM.
It can hurt your ego a bit at sometimes when you ask yourself, why do I do that? And then you start to think. And this is exactly what we want to do here, making you think. And I think we make a good or do a good job of that, especially, or at least for me. And yeah, another thing that I learned is don't have too big of an ego as a GM. Be ready to change. Be ready to adapt to the things you and your characters want to do with the story and with the world. Be ready to adapt the story. Be ready to adapt the world just to create a more entertaining and more engaging story and experience in general for everyone. Yeah. Because if you antagonize your players in a way that you don't even want to do consciously, it can lead to conflicts at the table. And you don't want that for a pleasant experience. So just be ready to adapt. But the thing is, this not only goes for GMs, but goes for players as well in general, because you have two driving forces of a story in a TTRPG, the GM and the players. Yeah. Both sides need to be ready to adapt. But the thing is, a GM has time to prepare. So they might be more steadfast and not as ready to change or adapt because they put so much work, in quotation marks, into preparing this.
Yeah.
But still, even if you have put a lot of time in that, be ready to adapt it.
Yeah, that's really, I think, one of the best advice you can give for basically everything in TTRPG is set your expectations a little bit lower than you have them right now, even. Don't think your players are gonna do the thing you want them to do. Don't expect your GM does the thing you want their GM to do, because you're gonna have to adapt. You're gonna have to play together. You're gonna have to face whatever happens together as a group. Even if the GM has prepared the monster, he has to face the combat with that monster just as much as the players do. And you're all in this together at all times. Right? I had this recent moment where my players were very much, where the player characters were having a heated argument and were about to break the group apart. Outside the game, we were all still playing together. And that's the important thing, right? That distinction, game and table. And at the table, we're all always playing together as a group. And in the game, we're playing characters in that game. The characters don't leave the game, and we as players don't go inside the game. Sure, there might be overlap by character bleed and us portraying some character traits we have ourselves in our characters, but there is never a full moment where one side gets isekai to the other world. And that distinction is important. And if you realize that there is that distinction, you're gonna think about TTRPGs a whole lot differently, because they're not just a story, they're not just a game, they're not just a group of friends, they're not just a friend GMing. They're so much more than everything that we can just say about them. They're always more than one thing.
Yeah, always more than just the sum of their parts. Because if you pick apart the parts of what makes a TTRPG so great, you're still missing something that you cannot really describe, because it is only the combination of all the parts that you just picked apart that makes this thing whole and puts it on another level. There's always the combination of all the parts together makes a TTRPG only so great. Only that. And this is something that you have to keep in mind, that the combination of it all is the key to an enjoyable, pleasant experience. And yeah, this is something that I learned through the past year, or the past 2 years actually, is to think about TTRPGs in general a whole lot different than just, okay, it's a story, a couple of friends and me play together. No, it's not just that. It's much, much more, which is hard to define directly, because it's somewhat meta and incorporeal stuff between that keeps it together and makes it that much more.
We all know that TTRPGs recently, and with that recently I mean in the last 10 to 15 years, had a big boom of influence of people had a big influx of people. And I think I actually know why.
Okay.
This is a theory of mine, and we're gonna have a full episode on this when we come back from our break at some point, because I really want to talk about this in depth. Why did Disney and Universal Studios change their theme parks entirely? Because they both realized something very, very interesting. Universal, with Warner Brothers, they had the rights to Harry Potter. And while I don't enjoy Harry Potter at all, and fuck J.K. Rowling, fuck TERFs, obviously, the Harry Potter land, when I was there, was still great. Why? Because it was the most immersive, great experience I ever had in a theme park. It wasn't just a roller coaster. I was in Hogsmeade. I was in Hogwarts. When you're inside this theme park, you cannot look outside. There is no way you can actually see anything else from the outside world. And everything in this park is designed obviously to make you spend a lot of money there, not gonna lie, but it's completely different from just a theme park with roller coasters. And I think that's exactly why. Because people changed. Earlier, people just wanted to ride roller coasters, and that worked, or that was enough. Nowadays, people don't want to just ride roller coasters. They don't just want to ride simulators. They want to experience everything. They want to experience the story. Disney's Galaxy Edge is everything. They changed every minute detail that normally in every Disney park is the same. Just for that part of the park. All the bottles where you still get Coca-Cola now look like Star Wars bottles. They don't have Coca-Cola writing on them. They have different writing on them that still says Coca-Cola, and it's still recognizable as Coca-Cola, but it's not Coca-Cola. It's this drink from the Star Wars planet now. And that is it. Experience. In one word, experience.
Okay,
and I think
makes sense.
TTRPGs, because millennials and Gen Z are the generations that said, no, watching a movie is not enough for me. I want to experience the story. That's why video games got bigger, in my opinion, in the last 20 to 25 years. And now TTRPGs, because they are even better than games at it, than video games.
Makes total sense.
And that's it. And I only noticed that because I watched a video on how the entertainment park industry changed completely. Because yes, I was in the Hogwarts land before I knew that J.K. Rowling was a turf, and I'm now boycotting everything that has to do with Harry Potter. I enjoyed the fuck out of that, and I never got to pinpoint why. I know why. It's impossible to get anything but Harry Potter in that park. They created their own formula for butterbeer there, and it's the only thing you can drink in that part of the park. It's impossible to get anything else to drink than butterbeer in that park, because you're supposed to drink it. Obviously, it's hella expensive, but you want to drink one because you're in the world of Harry Potter right now.
This year, I was in Europa Park, a big roller coaster park here in Germany. And now that you mention it, the bottles or the cups weren't matched to the theme itself, but every other building, even the fucking trash bins, were matched to the theme of that specific section of the park. The focus in there still relies heavily on roller coasters, but everything else is matched to the theme of that section. There was a Nordic section. Every fucking building, even the restaurants, everything looked like a Nordic village, like you imagine it. Or there was a pirate bay. There was pirate music playing everywhere, and some seagulls chirping and palms and everything. It just matched the vibe completely. Now that you mentioned it, this, makes total sense.
And these experience parks, they take it one step above, right? They change the drinks you're drinking. The Galaxy Edge Park doesn't have a roller coaster in it. It has a simulator with whatever they have there. But one of the bigger experiences that I can remember, I wasn't there at all, but I can remember from social media and stuff like that, is build your own lightsaber. There's no thrill in that, but there's a heck of a lot of excitement and experience in that.
Oh yeah.
Because they make it like you're actually building a lightsaber. All the employees in that section of the park are specially trained. They don't say toilet, they say refresher, because that's the word they would use. Because they are not humans that live on Earth. They are people that live on some kind of rebel planet. And that minute detail is the step up of the entertainment industry that the entertainment industry is focusing on right now. VR is the same thing. VR headsets just follow this trend as well. And TTRPGs are the most basic, simplistic, and that's not bad, that's good way to enjoy this medium. You can do it from the comfort of your own home without paying much money for it. D&D is expensive, yes, but other TTRPGs aren't.
Basically, you only need a couple of dice and a pen and some paper.
Don't even need those, you need people to play with.
Yeah, exactly.
And even then, you have solo TTRPGs. TTRPGs just are part of that new generation of entertainment that focuses on experience over telling. They don't want to tell you a story. They want you to experience a story. It sounds like a minute difference,
but it's actually the world.
Worlds apart. And if you think about it, it really shows. Why do you enjoy TTRPGs, listener? Why do you? And I can tell you, most of you will say, because I'm sitting around the table with my friends, telling an awesome story, rolling dice and having fun. I could summarize what you just said as I'm experiencing something, as dumb as it sounds. It's about experience. TTRPGs have always been about the experience, and just now entertainment itself is changing to a way that TTRPGs are very advantageous for.
What I just realized is it's just that you don't need any visual aid anymore necessarily to feel and experience. Because what TTRPGs showed me over the last couple of years since I started playing is that you don't need any medium to convey feelings other than just being there and speaking with your friends or people in general. Because the human mind can do so much stuff.
Yeah.
And immersing yourself in a story or in a situation is one of the things that the human mind is really, really good at. And this comes naturally, even if you don't dress up or if you don't use battle maps or if you don't use music. All of that stuff isn't needed because the human mind fills it automatically, even without thinking about it. Your subconscious is a powerful thing that that you can kind of shape with the way you tell your stories in TTRPGs.
Yeah.
It's just a way for you to experience something without needing to be somewhere else. And it's amazing. That's one of the reasons why I love TTRPGs. I can go around, slay dragons, capture castles, ride spaceships, and explore new solar systems.
Yeah.
Or whatever else, right? It's something that I, as a person, can't do.
Yeah.
But in my mind, my character can. And
Exactly.
I can feel immersed during those situations.
The same goes for the Galaxy Edge Park in Disney. You cannot be in Star Wars, but in this park you actually can. And they make sure that you are. Every minute detail is perfected to make you think you're in Star Wars. That's where it's at. And I'm just going to predict this. In the next coming years, 5-10 years, VR headsets are going to become cheap enough so that basically nearly everyone can have one. TTRPGs are going to grow bigger and bigger with Hasbro, even though right now we all know the open D&D talk and we support an open D&D. Hasbro is going to try to take D&D to even bigger heights with the movie. But the movie is just the marketing tool.
Yeah.
Well, what will happen? Hasbro just wants to make money, obviously. We don't have to sugarcoat it in any way. D&D, TTRPGs as a concept are going to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. That's my official prediction for the coming future.
Yeah, and makes total sense.
TTRPGs are going to be bigger. Entertainment is going to focus more and more on experience over just telling, right? Show, don't tell. It's also not show anymore. It's feel. Feel, don't show, don't tell. That's where it's going to be at. This is my official prediction for the future of entertainment and TTRPGs. But okay, we're going to have an episode on that because I really want to go in depth on this topic. Niels, looking forward into 2023. We talked about our actual plays and stuff we have done, but is there something else you're looking forward to? Is there something you want to manifest? Is there a wish you have for this year?
Just that it still makes us much fun to produce and to talk about stuff with you as it does, and I'm 100% sure it will, because in the last 2 years, this sensation didn't dwindle at all. Quite the opposite, actually. Every time we talk, it's still amazing to do. And I just wish for it to stay that way or even elevate that.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe just one wish for me is to get more relaxed when we have a guest. But I think this nervousness is still a good sign, or it may be something that I just tell myself, but it feels like if I'm nervous, I want this thing to go good. I want this to work. I want this to work out. And every time we have a guest, I want this episode to work out, just the recording part itself. And that's why I'm nervous every fucking time. Don't matter how many guests we had or we will have, I probably will always be nervous, at least to some degree. And I think just hoping for a bit more relaxation before that, but without completely dulling the sense of nervousness, is one thing that I wish for. And just keep on making or having great discussions with you about all types of different topics. That would be my wish for DoubleDM coming 2023. How about you?
I'm gonna say this like it is. Fucking basic bitch.
Yeah, I am. But someone has to
wishes. Right? I totally get that. But my wish is manifesting that 2023 is gonna see the first DoubleDM casting outside our own bubble of people that we have in the project, right? Us two, plus the 3 players that we have right now, that we're gonna cast for a show, or that I'm gonna cast for a show. And be able to do a casting for an actual play podcast from the TTRPG community and be able to pay these people that we cast fairly and well for what they are doing with us. That's really my wish. That's what I want to manifest. I don't know if it's going to happen, probably towards the end of the year but that's really where I want to be. I want to have a casting call where I can enjoy TTRPGs with people from this community that is listening to this, the wider community we've been engaging with for 2 years, and not just the people that I have in DoubleDM, under the DoubleDM head. You guys are great, but I also want to play with different people because you're all my bubble. And I want to play with people that come from different bubbles. I want to play with people that come from not Germany. I want to play with people that come from the US, that come from Africa, that come from Asia, from Australia, from South America. I want to play with people that are different than me. I want to play with people that can tell diverse stories that I am not able to tell. They can create characters that I'm not able to create. That's what I want. That's my big wish for the future.
We shall make it so, or at least try to.
I will try to. I have set things in motion already, and I hope that I can reap the rewards of that for the end of the year.
Okay, alrighty.
All right.
Yeah, I really just can't believe it's been 2 years already, basically.
Yeah, it's been...
I'm flabbergasted
It's not been 2 years.
Not
1 month.
Yeah.
We have to do. It's
Yeah,
1 month. But we don't release an episode in that month.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just like, we've been doing this for nearly 2 years now. Every fucking time I think about it, I'm just blown away. And it's still as much fun as the first time we did it.
Yeah.
Not as nervous for every recording now, but still.
We know what we're doing. And I think that's actually, when I'm looking back, is the main big thing for me. I know what the fuck I'm doing now. I learned so much in these 2 years about being a podcaster, about being a GM, about being a social media presence, about being a marketing guy. I'm not perfect in those instances, and in all of them I'm not. But I have so much knowledge now. And even if DoubleDM crashes and burns in 2023, I'm always going to challenge the experiences I've had with you, with the people that have listened, and with the community I engage with on a daily basis. Be it friends with it in a private Discord where we chat, be it people that I really think of as friends, as best friends, or more or less found family. I'm always going to cherish those ideas. Always going to cherish those people. Always going to cherish those moments because they've changed me as a person, and the knowledge I've gained will never be lost again. It will always stick with me. This podcast will always stick with me.
Yeah, it will always be a part of my life for everything to come. This thing will never be forgotten.
Yeah.
I can tell you that much.
As dumb as it sounds, I think we're finished.
Yeah, I think we are. So, as per usual, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at DoubleDMPod. We also have a Ko-Fi if you would like to check that out, and also have a website at www.doubledm.com. And please, if you like the show, leave us a rating on your favorite podcast listening platform of your choice. It really helps the show out. It gets the word out there of the show. Tell the people that you like. Tell your friend, tell your cat, tell your grandmother, anyone really, because getting people to listen to us, maybe they enjoy us as well. And with that, thank you all for listening. Hear you on the next one, and bye bye.